Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. As always, thank you for spending time with us. The real colluders. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Well, as usual, Trump was right.
They spied on my campaign.
Well, there's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify that.
It's been totally verified.
No.
We can't verify it because we don't want to verify it. The 60 Minutes stopwatch broke again. Now, as usual, the media were covering for the Democrats, as they always do. Leslie Stahl and the rest of the corporate media simply took as gospel whatever Obama's henchmen were claiming about Trump and Russian collusion. And it was all a lie. Just a few weeks ago, we learned that CIA Director John Ratcliffe sent a criminal referral letter to FBI Chief Kash Patel regarding former CIA Chief John Brennan and former FBI Director Jim Comey for their actions in the Trump-Russia probe. Now, these potentially include making false statements to Congress. Uh-oh. Then the bombshell on Friday from Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, where she released evidence showing that in the months leading up to the November 2016 election, President Obama and top national security staff manufactured and politicized intel to lay the foundation for a year-long coup attempt against President Trump. And Gabbard put meat on the bones in an interview with our own Maria Bartiromo.
The intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election. So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December.
How strange a shift. Now, why was President Obama and his intel staff not satisfied with the assessments about Russia and whether Russia was interfering or not? But then another intel review took place.
Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election. Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published.
And what happened to that assessment, which again found no Russian involvement in our election? Well, it turns out they didn't like the conclusions the intel agencies had made, so they decided to find new conclusions. Now, Director Gabbard says that hours before the intel would have gone into that presidential daily brief, a senior intel official pulled it, claiming, oh, they received new guidance.
The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bringing together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency.
Yeah, this is what they call a conspiracy, my friends. Now, the goal apparently was to lay the factual predicate, in this case based on statements they knew were lies, to cripple or even topple the Trump presidency, as Tulsi called it, aptly, a coup. And now Fox News has confirmed that the Department of Justice has indeed received a criminal referral from the DNI regarding the manipulation of these intelligence reports.
There must be indictments, those responsible, no matter how powerful they are and were at that time, no matter who was involved in creating this treasonous conspiracy against the American people, they all must be held accountable.
They must be held accountable. These are the headlines. 100% true. These people were so brazen, they felt entitled to pull out every stop, including, if that was necessary, I guess, manufacture intel in order to stop President Trump. And when Trump questioned them, well, when he hit back, they fell back into their usual line. How dare you? How dare you even think about questioning us? The world is watching.
There is no basis for Mr. Trump to point fingers at the intelligence community. The world is watching now what Mr. Trump says and listening very carefully. If he doesn't have confidence in the intelligence community, what signal does that send to our partners and allies as well as our adversaries?
Well, complicit in all of this, the man who would chair the impeachment inquiry, another fraud, Adam Schiff.
The president-elect has really denigrated the intelligence community, has called their integrity into question, has basically said he doesn't believe the intelligence on Russian hacking.
But the slimiest of all was Barack Obama himself. When he knew the IC had already concluded it was highly unlikely that Russia had interfered in the election, Obama, by omission, still planted the seeds that it had.
Clinton lose because of the hacking?
I'm going to let all the political pundits in this town have a long discussion about what happened in the election. It was a fascinating election, so I'm sure there are going to be a lot of books written about it.
Right then and there, Barack Obama should have stated for the record that the intelligence community had in fact concluded that there was no evidence that Russia had thrown the election for Trump. But he didn't like the outcome of the election. And he wanted to leave the impression, and this is very important, that the election of Donald Trump was illegitimate.
Unless the American people genuinely think that the professionals in the CIA, the FBI, our entire intelligence infrastructure, many of whom, by the way, served in previous administrations and who are Republicans, are less trustworthy than the Russians, then people should pay attention to what our intelligence agencies say.
See how he's smart, right? Because he doesn't quite come out and say it, but he wants to leave the impression with, well, listen to them. It's amazing. And let's not forget how after they knew the truth, again, that Russia had not affected the election, that Comey and Obama discussed not sharing key intel with National Security Advisor Michael Flynn because he had talked to his Russian counterpart a number of times before the inauguration. And that poisonous seed again planted by Obama and his band of democracy subverters that germinated into what would ultimately be the takedown of Flynn to hurt Trump, right, at the very get-go. And ultimately, the launching of the special counsel and the Mueller investigation. It was all built on a fraud greenlit by Obama and his IC collaborators. The Democrats had their talking point.
We saw cold, hard evidence of the Trump campaign eagerly intending to collude, possibly, with Russia.
You can see evidence in plain sight on the issue of collusion, pretty compelling evidence.
The current president of the United States has taken the word of the Russian president over the word of the American intelligence community.
I believe that the president is compromised by the Russians.
Once again, everything Democrats accuse Trump of, subverting the election, hurting democracy, is what they did. But they all felt entitled to do things that are the opposite of by the books. We'll get into that in a moment, because for them, the definition of democracy is only really, it means this. It's basically a government that pushes a totally progressive agenda. And if the government is not doing that, pushing a totally progressive agenda, then it's not really democracy, and it needs to be taken down by any means necessary. That's why there were special rules for Hillary Clinton, destroying all that evidence, for mishandling classified information. That's why there was special treatment for Biden when he was found holding classified docs next to that Corvette. But now, there must be accountability for what went down here. The DOJ's investigation must be straightforward, not affected by politics, because of course if it is, the Democrats will run with that. It must be driven only by the facts and the law, with the intent of those involved closely examined. And before you say, oh, Laura, isn't this too backward looking? We gotta look at the forward. No, you know what I say? It's exactly the opposite of backward looking. Because if Democrats and Republicans want to preserve in the future our intel agencies, and I have my doubts about that, frankly, whether they're worth it, but if the Democrats and Republicans think it's important that those intel agencies have the public's trust, then these agencies need to be taken apart and cleaned out section by section. Fire anyone with his or her own agenda, fire anyone whose professional judgment or objectivity is questionable, demand much more oversight from Congress, and if you can't get the answers you're looking for in Congress, start defunding these agencies. That'll get their attention, and that's the angle.
Happy one-year anniversary to the day Democrats pulled off the coup of the century. They thought 86ing Joe from the ticket would erase his wretched legacy and make room for fresh blood to take out Trump. But neither of those things wound up happening. You know, in ancient Roman times, when emperors had their rivals taken out, they would make sure to have their whole families killed too, especially the sons, because the sons will make it their life's duty to avenge their father's death. The machine may have killed the big guy, but Hunter is very much alive, and he's out for blood. The first son on his revenge tour. First stop, George Clooney.
Him and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. You, what do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president?
Oh, man, he was just getting started. Next up, James Carville and the entire Obama cabal that thought they could puppeteer the party from off stage.
And James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior speechwriters in, on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40, $50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times.
Hunter isn't just trying to bury Obama's people. He went on another podcast and crucified the Messiah himself.
We all talk about the incredible popularity of Barack Obama. Barack Obama never got more than 69 million votes. My dad got 81 million votes. What is the one thing that drives Obama more crazy about my dad than anything? It's when he sits around and he continues to talk to people in a crowd, because then he can't also leave the stage at the same time.
That's exactly
and he never likes hanging around.
He doesn't. He doesn't like taking. He doesn't like rope lines. He doesn't like to take the pictures.
Then Hunter name-checked Chuck and Nancy, saying the Democrat Party has been hijacked by rich white elites with no respect for his dad's blue-collar roots.
What the Democratic Party proved is they have no guts. I mean, by the way, I say party. The elite white people that donate to the colleges, the people that donate to the, multi-million-dollar checks to the DNC and the DCCC and the DSCC, the Schumer people and the Pelosi people and those people, the controlling interest of the corporate side of the Democratic Party.
The old white elites big-footed Biden out of the race, but that was only half the battle. They didn't want Kamala to be the nominee, but Harris had the last laugh.
You know who did not want Kamala Harris to be president and did not want her to be the nominee? Nancy Pelosi didn't want her to be. None of Nancy Pelosi's people wanted her to be. They wanted an open convention. They wanted a floor fight. They wanted I don't know what the hell they wanted, but they wanted to be the ones to anoint whoever they were going to anoint to become the next president of the United States.
But Hunter still thinks if it wasn't for all the machines meddling, Kamala would have stayed and Joe would have just had to win re-election without a hitch. If it wasn't for Nancy Pelosi, who he called a snake, Trump wouldn't have been in the White House again.
And you would have the Speaker Emeritus that would say, well, you know, I'm going to leave it up to, but I don't know. And they had already made a decision. They had clearly made a decision. And when I say they, I mean the Speaker. And, you know, I heard Alexander Pelosi say something, call my like, put your big girl pants on to my mom or something. And I kind of feel like saying, who the do you think you are?
Hunter says Nancy had it all wrong. His dad's brain was never a problem. He just popped too many Ambien before the debate.
I'll tell you what, I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, and the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times. Yeah. He's 81 years old. He's tired as shit. They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights. And it feeds into every story that anybody wants to tell.
Biden came back to the U.S. on June 14th and spent the whole week leading up to the debate napping at Camp David. I doubt the big guy was given Ambien the night before facing off with Trump, but Dr. O'Connor pled the fifth, so we'll never know what he was given. But unlike Joe, Hunter's wide awake and going after Jake Tapper for cashing in on his dad's downfall.
Jake Tapper with literally how many anonymous sources? If this was a conspiracy, Andrew, you know this, somehow the entirety of a White House in which you literally living on top of each other has kept their mouth shut about, you know, like what? And what's the conspiracy? Yeah. That Joe Biden got old? Yeah, he got old. He got old before our eyes. The people that came out against him were who? Nobody. Except Speaker Pelosi. What influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab.
Tapper should have known. Only Hunter's allowed to make money off the Biden name. And make no mistake, everything that Hunter's saying here is exactly how his dad feels. The former president absolutely signed off on his son settling scores and burning down what's left of the establishment. Remember, nobody F's with a Biden, not even the DNC. We just learned the Democrat National Committee is running its own autopsy, but refuses to say anyone fumbled the bag when it came to Joe and Kamala's campaigns. Quote, party officials described the draft document as focusing on the 24 election as a whole, but not on the presidential campaign, which is something like eating at a steakhouse and then reviewing the salad. But Hunter doesn't think the Democrats are dead just yet. And he's leaving the door open for a knight in shining armor to sweep in and lead the party to the promised land.
Do you think the Democratic Party's dead?
No, I don't think the Democratic Party's dead. I think that there's some really incredible leaders in the Democratic Party. Someone will emerge. There will be a leader that will emerge.
Isn't it obvious? The Democrats have been saying since November that the party needs a real man with real energy and swagger, someone who tells it like it is, who drops F-bombs and knows how to get attention. Where's Hunter? He's been hiding in plain sight. Dark Brandon Jr. is a man on a mission. What better way to avenge your father's political assassination than to win the nomination that the party stole from him and usher in another era of Bidenomics? Biden the younger could be just what the party needs to confront its ugly past and absolve its political sins.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the owner of the famous West Coast In-N-Out Burger, the home of double animal style, fleeing California? Kinda. Anyway, and WNBA players, they are now demanding more money. Will their strategy work? And big breaking news from the Department of Justice. Officials there are confirming to Fox News tonight the receipt of criminal referrals surrounding the, quote, manufactured and politicized intelligence used to create the Russia hoax. So, who could be implicated in this plot to upend a free and fair election and undermine a sitting U.S. president? According to the Director of National Intelligence, that would be Tulsi Gabbard, all eyes are on Comey, Brennan, and even former President himself, Barack Hussein Obama. Former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, they will join us with all the details. But we begin tonight with a look inside the dumpster fire that is the Democratic Party. So sad. Sadly, there are very few, if any, rational people in that party. After a decade of Trump derangement syndrome, Democrats, they are totally, completely broken. Thank you, Donald Trump. Even James Carville acknowledging this in the New York Times, quote, constipated, leaderless, confused, a cracked out clown car divided. Now, these are the words I hear my fellow Democrats using to describe our party as of late. The truth is, they're not wrong. The Democratic Party is in shambles. And tonight, some just can't get past their hatred of all things Donald Trump to do anything of value, nothing. Others, they, on the left, they have religiously adopted and are clinging to this bizarre woke belief system. They're doubling down on Marxism, statism, socialism. And then there are those who have gone full, complete Marxist, communist, statist. And last but not least, there is a small group of Democrats still haunting the entire country. Tonight, the Biden family is not sailing off quietly into the sunset. In fact, zero experience Hunter Biden is back. He has a lot to say. He's not a happy camper. As a matter of fact, he's bitterly angry. First, he's now trying to rewrite a piece of history that we all witnessed with our very own eyes, even blaming Ambien on his father's significant cognitive state. Take a look.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as You give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
Oh, they gave him Ambien before he got on stage. I don't believe that myself, but you decide. Now, pretty strange thing to say. Meanwhile, Hunter also had some very choice words for Georgie Clooney. We might have this in common. I'm not fond of George, not fond of his wife, not fond of their position on Israel. Take a look.
Him, and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. You, what do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president?
I don't know why I like that so much. I just did. The president's son then ripped into the one and only fake Jake Tapper. Take a look.
Who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper?
My mom or something? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
For real, though. I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No,
because
no.
By the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with, that the journalism that he purports to take part in.
Let me get this straight. Did I just hear Hunter talking about money grabs, zero experience on the border Burisma, goes on Good Morning America, no experience in energy, oil, gas, or Ukraine or China, but does these big energy deals? Did I just hear that right? I don't know. And during another interview, zero experience Hunter also raged at Nancy Pelosi. This is too good to not show. Take a look.
And you would have the Speaker Emeritus that would say, well, you know, I'm going to leave it up to, but I don't know. And they had already made a decision. They had clearly made a decision. And when I say they, I mean the speaker. And, you know, I heard Alexandra Pelosi say something, call my mom, like, put your big girl pants on to my mom or something. And I kind of feel like saying, who the do you think you are? I would never speak about your mom that way.
Yeah.
I would never speak about your father that way. I would never insult your parents that way. Even to this day, I would never refer to the speaker as anything but speaker.
I have an offer for zero experience Hunter. Come on the program. We'll do a full hour on this show, face to face. You can come on my radio show. We'll do a full 3 hours. You can curse as much as you want. and we'll have to bleep it, though. Anyway, despite his hatred for almost everyone in his own party, Hunter is still a devout Democrat and just can't shake up his own Trump derangement syndrome. Lucky for him, Daddy gave zero experience the preemptive pardon. Take a look.
All these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance. And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are criminals. White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a violent crime than an immigrant.
Actually, let's point something out, that most people don't have millions and millions of dollars, even though they had no experience. So all the work that he mentioned, a lot of people do it themselves, Hunter. But we could talk about that on this show if you come. It's an open invitation. It is obvious that almost all Democrats want totally open borders, unlimited illegal immigration, zero deportation. Here's another example from over the weekend. Apparently, the L.A. mayor, Karen Bass, thinks the president has done nothing right at the border. Take a look.
Is there anything good you think the administration has done in these 6 months at the border?
Well, I will heap praise on the administration for the first 6 months in Los Angeles with the fires. If you ask me, is there anything that they have done good in terms of immigration? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that the viewpoint has been punitive, has been let's make it as miserable as possible so that these people don't come.
And whatever they're doing is certainly working at the border itself. We were down on that border, and it is dramatically different than it was a year ago.
All right, this is a radicalized, destructive Democratic Party with bizarre motivations. For example, former Transportation Secretary, our friend, Mayor Pothole Pete, allowed important infrastructure to crumble while he was spending a whopping $80 billion on DEI grants. And meanwhile, our air traffic control systems are from the 50s and 60s. He delayed air traffic control upgrades. Your safety for DEI? You know, now Pothole Pete desperately wants to be the president of our country. And in New York City, Marxist Zoran Mamdani desperately wants to be the mayor of America's biggest city. But like any good communist, Marxist Mamdani can't bring himself to work too hard. In fact, he just skipped town in the middle of his campaign for a vacation back to his home country, Uganda. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, I found this the most interesting news of the day. He's also running for mayor. He said if he loses, he himself might be fleeing to the free state of Florida, following me down here. Actually, Andrew, don't give up. You stay in New York regardless of the outcome. You continue to pay your taxes. Remember you said tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. We did, and they left. Anyway, he won't be alone. I predict it will be a prison break. New York desperately needs strong, sane leadership, not woke Marxism. Just this weekend, an off-duty Border Patrol officer was shot in the face during a botched robbery in a New York City park. But as of earlier today, Mamdani was totally silent about that shooting. After all, he's on vacation.
Must be my body spray. Happy Monday, everyone. All right, it was 1 year ago today that President Biden dropped out of the 2024 campaign. Yep. Time flies when you're dead. Meanwhile, his son Hunter unleashed on George Clooney and the Democrats for being disloyal to his father, adding, "I know about loyalty. When my brother died, I stepped up and banged his wife." Over the weekend, WNBA All-Stars wore shirts that said, Pay us what you owe us. And no, it wasn't aimed at the league. It was directed at their shift supervisor at Pep Boys.
Oh.
Caitlin Clark had to miss the All-Star game due to an injury. Sports fans, though, say there's still plenty of good reasons to watch the WNBA. For instance, if someone has a gun to your head. I know that joke is controversial because a lot of people would choose the gun. Karen Bass claimed that ICE kidnapped an L.A. mother on her way to work, but prosecutors say it was a hoax. Karen swears by the story, saying she heard about it from her boyfriend in Chicago. And she was told to keep looking for the real culprit by her other ex-boyfriend. Katy Perry was left dangling midair on a giant butterfly after a prop malfunctioned during her concert. Attendees were very concerned that the concert would continue. And finally, after finding out Stephen Colbert was canceled, Stacey Abrams posted photos from her many appearances on the show. She alluded that those were happier times when she could still fit in a chair.
Oh.
Hey, I'm not making her eat Twinkies. But I would. So apparently firing Stephen Colbert, who was paid $20 million a year while his show lost $50 million, it wasn't due to economics. It was fascism. That, according to all the Democrats currently white knighting for him. Because you recall from history class, the first thing Adolf Hitler did was cancel Late Night with Shecky von Bismarck. But they never get that the free market means exactly that. Free to fire someone who's stinking up a market. Like they took a dump in the produce section. That show, his show, was like the dope who maxes out his credit card because he thinks the stripper really likes him. Ooh, you got two jokes for the price of one. But that's not fascism, that's math. But for the left, math is what happens to other people. Which is why cretins like Chris Murphy are panicking like Hunter Biden when his dealer's phone goes right to voicemail. But are we on the precipice of entering a censorship state?
We are on the precipice of entering a censorship state in which Donald Trump is using the powers of the federal government in order to erase criticism from the airwaves. Stephen Colbert didn't get thrown off the air because he wasn't doing well.
Why is he doing that on the toilet? Dude, you're a politician and you're taking a dump while doing this? He's got to prove that he didn't. He's taking a dump. All right, so it's true. Colbert didn't cancel because he wasn't doing well. It was because he was doing horrendously. But even Rosie got the news between feeding times.
What's going on with Stephen Colbert, right? One of the most brilliant minds we've ever had in comedy. CBS decided to give in to the blackmail that Donald Trump forced them to.
Ugh. There's not enough Guinness in Dublin to turn her into a 3.
There's a lot of Guinness in Dublin. I've been there.
And others are ready to eulogize free speech.
If you don't think we are under a regime with an authoritarian strategy, then you are bugging. This is not just a media story. It's a free speech funeral in slow motion.
This has not been a great week for free speech and speaking truth to power.
A funeral? Please. A funeral would get more laughs. Colbert should have started his monologues with my condolences. But the left's political class kept piling on. Liz Warren, Adam Schiff, Tim Walz, Hakeem Jeffries. Jesus, I could feel my IQ plummeting just by listing those names. Thank God AOC wasn't in there or I would have flatlined. And now the Writers Guild of America wants an investigation into the cancellation. Somehow that killing a bad show is criminal. Hey, Writers Guild, you know what's criminal? Churning out garbage like The Big Bang Theory and How I Met Your Mother. They should have combined those two shows and called it How I Banged Your Mother. So why don't these elites freak out when working Americans lose their jobs? Non-federal workers who bring value to the economy, not dying institutions that bleed money serving their agenda. It's weird how they only take pride in things that are subsidized, crap that doesn't require actual success to survive. They think Colbert is a government program. Who cares if it costs a lot and it sucks? It made them feel good to know it was there. But don't you dare touch it, because that's fascism. Because to them, everything is fascist, except, actual fascism. Cuba, Venezuela, China, all the places where Tim Walz or Bernie Sanders consider great honeymoon spots. All those regimes crush dissent, jail opposition, and murder journalists. That's the fascism that these bags ignore. But a smug millionaire loses his desk and fake skyline, and it's the death of democracy. Hell, that desk costs more than my whole staff. And we still keep beating them in the ratings. The fact that CBS was losing millions but kept him on the air is the very definition of propaganda. When a business puts aside the bottom line for the message instead, well, you know what they say. If it walks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, but eats like an elephant, it's probably Joy Behar. Let's welcome tonight's guest. Her frank discussions give liberals concussions. Host of the Michelle Tavoya podcast, Michelle Tavoya. He looks like that guy who brings his own popcorn to the movies. Comedian Dave Landau. She's our favorite Madison after Oscar and Ashley. Fox business correspondent Madison Allworth. And he makes his fans' pacemakers skip a beat. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Darius. Michelle, what do you make of this outcry? Because I don't think, I look at Colbert, I think they look at it like it's like a public library. When they hear that it's closed, they go, oh my God, what are they doing? But they haven't gone to that library in decades.
A lot of people haven't gone to that library, apparently. I mean, that library is just losing readership like crazy. The hyperbole, once again, Greg, is what gets me. And I listened to Charlemagne the God, his entire 10-minute rant on this. And as you said, he said, this is a funeral of the First Amendment or whatever. The First Amendment says that Congress can make no laws that abridge your free speech. Mm-hmm. Congress didn't make a law that said, CBS, you must fire him. This has nothing to do with Congress or the Constitution or anything else. I get that they see this timing, right? Yeah. That the FCC is needed in order for this merger to go between Skydance and Paramount. I get that, and it looks away. But I'll also say, I know we were all in television. And in all those years, one of the things that holds true is you got to make money. Mm-hmm. And it is possible that they just got really tired of Colbert's act with all of his criticism of this settlement he came to with Trump. I mean, that is possible.
Yeah, I just think that
you just think it's math.
I think they kept him around so they could get access to his guests.
Oh,
because they were willing to take all this money lost because he could get in a politician.
Well, I'll just say one more thing about Charlemagne, because he said on the one hand, this is authoritarianism, right? At the same time, he said, you notice that all these online platforms and podcasts are popping up and getting competitive. That would not happen under an authoritarian government.
Yeah, Colbert's going to get a job. The first thing he's going to do is interview Barack and Michelle. Yes. I'm convinced to that. What do you make of this, Dave, as a comedian? Do you think this is some kind of conspiracy?
Obviously. I think... I think that the moment that he had sold out, or at least sold his soul, was the dancing with Pfizer needles.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you can't do that and then be going down on needles on the side. But yeah, I think that the company is also to blame. They're the ones who they're pushing this down. They pushed an agenda onto him. They took away the character that he was on Comedy Central. And then this is what we have, where they're like, look, we got to make sure your jokes are flatter than Rachel Maddow, who he turned into.
Yeah. No, he did. He morphed into a even more humorless Rachel Maddow. Here's the interesting question that we both kind of come around. Isn't Paramount kind of on the hook because they have shareholders? And if you have shareholders and for 10 years you allow this loss of millions, shouldn't there be an investigation into that?
I mean,
you are a business person, Madison.
I am, and I think they should investigate it. But I don't know, how much they'll find because it's pretty clear math. The show is losing between 40 to 50 million, and he's making 20. And I don't know how you justify the zeros and ones to make that add up. And the problem is, and like you said with the politicians, to make it in late night, it's never been more competitive. You now have social media, and you have cable, and you have YouTube, which are getting politicians who have their own channels and have celebrities who can come out on their own accounts. And so you have to be good. But the most important thing is you have to be funny. And if you're not, it's just not gonna work.
Well, and you also have Gutfeld to contend with,
Yeah. Tyrus? Tyrus, if we were, he was losing 40 to 50 million. If we were losing 40 to 50 bucks, we'd be gone.
No, you'd be gone because I would have murdered you to save my job.
We have that on tape.
This is the most bull I've ever heard in my black life. When I get fired, they don't say, "Hey, you're fired next year."
Yeah.
What kind of that? They call me at home and say, "Don't come in, please." He gets a whole year to be fired.
Yes.
He gets a whole year of paychecks.
He's going to show up every night and then act like a martyr. And he's probably going to, his ratings will probably go up because of that.
No, it won't. Because his guests suck. The only people who are crying are the people who go on his show.
Yes.
Because Liz Warren can't get booked anywhere else.
Yes, yes.
No Indian casino will take her in right now. The people are like, this isn't fair. It's like Trekkies who are still crying because Captain Kirk is too old to be Captain Kirk anymore. Like, where's the time machine? Your show, this is what happens when you go all in. He went all in with his winning team, and he bet on Biden and Kamala. And now he's been unburdened by what has been.
Yes.
But that gets a year to be fired.
Yeah, another 20
if
million.
You would have said, "Hey, Tyrus, you're fired this time next year," I would literally be barbecuing in my seat. I'd have friends come over. I would completely dare you, or I would be like, "I'm going to redo everything, and I'm going to give them a chance to keep me."
Do you know what? You're telling, I don't think you're right, because he's going to start doing things that he's going to get more extreme, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think he is.
Don't you think is he going to have like a swim bathing suit contest with Rosie O'Donnell?
I think it is. I mean,
You think it's a publicity stunt?
I think it could be to get numbers back up. I think it absolutely could be a publicity stunt. It's weird, just kicking him off late night. I don't know.
See,
it's like Kevin Spacey hosting Sesame Street.
I usually agree with you, but if you wanted a publicity stunt, you would have Liz Warren and Hakeem Jeffries trying to get people to watch you.
Well, she's funny accidentally when she made Pow Wow Chow the cookbook.
We must move on because we have more in store. I just made up that rhyme. Hunter Biden goes off.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.